Want a simple yet effective day trading setup to catch fast market moves? Today I will be covering the 3-bar play, which is a great setup for you guys to learn. Within this video, you guys are going to have a lot of actionable steps and key takeaways that you guys can get from this video. I'm going to be covering what is the 3-bar play a little bit in depth here on PowerPoint. I'm going to be covering why it's effective for day trading, how to actually trade it, and then there's going to be actual tips and tricks towards the end, including key time frames to use this on, which I feel like is the most important part that most people get wrong, is that they don't know when to actually implement this. And I will cover exact steps for you guys to make sure this strategy and setup is the best implemented within what you are looking for. So in terms of what is a 3-bar play, the basic principle of it is it's trying to capture momentum then after a initial trend move. So you're trying to catch the breakout from consolidation. So we're trying to get an up move here, and then we get this consolidation, which we know a lot of times this trend will resume, and then you get that movement here. So in essence, what you're trying to do is you're trying to catch this initial breakout point for that trend resumption to the upside. Now, why is it effective? Because it allows you to enter key with trend and has a clear risk level. So your risk is small when you're trading this, and your reward can be great because you are catching something that is going to be a trending name that has trending momentum potential. Again, stick to the end. I'm going to be covering some steps that you can implement to make sure you're using this when the market is trending and when the stock is trending, as well as key time frames to use it on, which I feel like is the most important part. Now, for what this setup actually looks like, this is a 3-bar play where we have, first off, we're going to be breaking this down. The first bar, you want a strong bullish momentum move. And I want to note, I'm going to be covering the long side of this. You could easily flip this around and make this a short setup as well, and a lot of people do. So this is going to be bar number 1. And the significance of bar number 1 here is you want to see strength. You want to see the buyers step in here and put in a strong bullish bar like what we see here. The stronger and bigger the bar with more volume, the better that this bar is going to be. So let's say if all of a sudden volume's like this, and then you get a huge surge in volume on this bar right here, then that is going to be much better. And that is one of the actual tips that I have for you, is look at the volume when you get this strength, because a majority of people will just skip out on the volume and wonder why that 3-bar play didn't work at all. So we have this strength bar here. So the first bar, you want to see a lot of strength. Number 2, on this second bar, you want to see a pause from this strength. Ideally, it maintains within the high of this bar here and does not draw down over 50% of this bar here. So the best ones will stay in the top half of this initial bar, so the top half of this first bar, and they do not break this high right here. Now, the question becomes, can you take the setup if it breaks bar 1's high? Yes, you can. So if you have something that just has a little wick up here that barely breaks its high, you can still take that setup. And that's where a lot of people get this wrong as well, is they think it has to be within this range. It does not. It is better if it does, but you can still take it if it's slightly above its high. So the second bar here is going to be the consolidation candle. And the consolidation, you can think of it looking at a line chart, is just this consolidation after a strong trend move, which often sees this trend resumption here. So if we're entering right here with a clear risk, we can capture all of this reward right here, which in essence is what you want to be looking for within this setup. And then this is this explosive move to the upside here, where you get this actual breakout and follow through. Now, let me get rid of this here, because you may be wondering, well, when do I get in? How do I confirm the breakout? So if you're going to be recognizing this as the 3-bar play, this is your bar 1, this is your bar 2. Plain and simply put, the entry is easy. Your entry is above this consolidation bar is high and your stop goes at its low. So this is going to be your entry criteria right here. And then your stop loss is going to be going right into this bar's low right here. So we have a clear defined risk. We're entering on consolidation for that trend resumption higher, and we know where this setup is wrong, and we know a clear defined entry criteria. This third bar here is where you make your move. So this step one, this first bar and the second bar is setting up for this setup. And then that bar number 3 is really where you're going to be making your move for this upside continuation move. One thing I want to note too, what is an added check in your favor? And let's go into volume here. So if we have volume and we're looking at these 3 bars, ideally you want to see high volume on bar number 1, smaller volume on bar number 2, and then this breakout bar has more volume for then this trend resumption. When you can get these 3 things to align, it greatly increases your win rate within this setup. Now, what I want to go into is cover some time frames to use them on, and then examples of what we want to see within the chart. So with that being said, let's go and break down some charts. So first things first is when we look at this, and I want to go into Tesla example from today. When we go in and look at this, and let me make my screen a little bit bigger here. There we go. When we go in and we're looking at this setup right here, I want to note the common mistake is that everyone just tries to find these randomly on every single time frame. And I want to be the first to tell you guys that the best 3-bar plays come from and let me type this here. The best 3-bar plays, or 3BP, come from higher time frames. So the higher the time frame we have, the better. So example, a daily 3-bar play for longs is better than a 1-minute chart. The same thing with a weekly. So how I personally use this, how I use it is, let's say on the daily, let's say we have a 3-bar play on the daily, then I am going to be looking for intraday longs on any opportunity I can find. So looking for intraday longs on 2 and 5 and 15, because I know the overall macro context is pointing to higher prices with a daily 3-bar play, and then I will come in and I will look for a shorter time frame for entry. Let's break down a picture perfect example of why Tesla was on my radar today and how this one panned out to a T. So what do we see here? This is a picture perfect example of what? A daily 3-bar play. So you get this push up higher here. So you get this first initial impulse move. You get this second consolidation candle here. And then what is our criteria? Our entry is above this candle's high, and then a stop below this candle's low. So this bar right here was the 3-bar play long on Tesla that signaled that upside move that was likely to come here on this today. So once we've identified this, then what do we go into? Now we're going into shorter time frame entries. How can we find a 2-minute and a 5-minute entry within this pattern right here? Because we have an overall macro context of where when we come into this day, I'm looking for longs already because of the daily 3-bar play. Then your question becomes, how can I find 2-minute, 5-minute, and then 15-minute entries within this, because I know the macro context is pointing to higher prices. So going in here to the 2-minute, there are multiple setups you could have traded. You could have traded buying the open on this back through open. You could have traded this higher low retest. It all stems from having a macro context of where we are going to be having our thesis from that daily chart. And I want to note too, it works really well. Let me put some text in here. Works well on mega caps. So if you get something like Tesla, Nvidia, AMD, Apple, Amazon, all these work really good on these mega cap stocks. So focusing on these on mega caps is another insightful tip that I have for you guys. So that is an example of Tesla from the daily chart. But let's go in and let's go into, what about something like PayPal? What is this? This is a picture Perfect. Entry over here, stop right here, 1, 2, 3 bar play, and then you can expect to see a trend resumption on this particular setup here. So very, very helpful setup in trend. And that brings me to a point of key common mistakes that people make, and I feel like this is going to provide you guys a ton of value. Common mistakes. First one is you're trying to trade this not in trend. If you're getting something that's not in trend and you're just chopping around where you don't have any trend, this setup is not going to work. When this works best is when you have a trend already established, and then you are able to take this to the upside. The second one is a lot of times, and let me type it here, a lot of times people entry too early because they're not patient enough to wait on this break, and they try to get in early, and then it ends up failing lower without actually triggering. So you want to trade it during a trend, and you want to wait on that entry. Now, the third one here is going to be not at key level. What makes this even more important is if you can come up and you have a key support level for this 3 bar play where we get this break, and then that consolidation bar comes and holds support, then this is an even added confirmation in your favor that this trade is going to work. And this is one of the best tips that I have for you guys for trading this, is make sure you're at a key support level. Now, to essentially wrap this up, why this setup is so good is because you can capture the momentum continuation. And when you're capturing that momentum continuation in trend, you can find a small amount of risk for a large reward to the upside. And that's why this setup is so well. One last thing to wrap this up as well is the time frame component. So time frame, and I'm going to be breaking this down from most significant to least. So you start with the weekly. So if we have a weekly 3 bar play, that is a very good setup for that given week on that stock. A daily, then I go into the 15-minute, then I go into the 5-minute, and then into the 2-minute. So we're ranking these from most important being up here and then least important down here. So when we can find a weekly buy setup that trades higher, that is going to be a great setup to the upside. Now that you know how the 3 bar play works, be sure to practice this within your own system. Start backtesting it, see what you can find, see what works. As I mentioned, this works great on mega cap stocks. If you find it works best for you on mid caps or small caps, it is also a very good setup within them. Now that I'm wrapping this video up, I appreciate you guys watching it. Hopefully you stuck to the end for these actionable tips. I encourage you to hit subscribe. If you can hit that notification bell, it will be greatly appreciated. Let us know down below if this video helped you guys. Thank you.